What happens when Korea's most beloved on-screen couple decides to turn fiction into forever? The entertainment world woke up to a fairy tale headline that feels almost too perfect to be true. Kang and Kim Yoo-jung are officially set to wed this October in Seoul. The news has sent shockwaves through fans across Asia. The line between real and real love. Join Red Carpet revealed as we uncover every detail behind the year's most anticipated wedding. The morning Seoul awoke to the news felt unreal. The kind of day when the city seemed to pause between dream and daylight. Screens in coffee shops, office elevators, subway platforms all show the same headline. Love Unveiled, Kang and Kim Yoo-jung announce October wedding in Seoul. For a moment, silence hung in the air, then came the collective gasp. The laughter, the disbelief. Two names that had long defined modern K-drama now stood side by side in a single sentence that blurred the border between script and reality. It wasn't just an announcement, it was a confession years in the making. Reporters rushed to confirm what fans already believed in their hearts. Both agencies released statements within minutes, graceful, measured, but unmistakably warm. After years of friendship and mutual respect, the two have decided to begin a new chapter together. The ceremony will be held privately in Seoul this October. The words were simple, yet they set off a wave that swept through Asia. In Tokyo, digital billboards flashed their faces. In Bangkok and Manila, hashtags trended before breakfast. For millions, the world suddenly felt lighter. Those who had followed their careers knew this wasn't an ordinary pairing. Kang, the introspective heartthrob whose quiet charisma made heartbreak look poetic. Kim Yoo-jung, the luminous actress whose grace could fill a frame before she even spoke. Together, they had redefined what chemistry meant on screen. Off screen, they had always been polite colleagues, or so everyone thought. But love, it seems, had been unfolding in plain sight all along. The first spark dated back to a winter set in 2021, when both were cast in a drama about love postponed by time. Behind the cameras, between retakes, they shared coffee, jokes, kind of unguarded smiles that crew members noticed long before tabloids do. A lighting technician later recalled. They didn't flirt, they listened to each other. That's rarer. Rumors flared briefly, then faded under their quiet professionalism. They finished the project, accepted new roles, and carried on as though the story had ended. It hadn't. In the years that followed, their paths kept crossing, award shows, brand campaigns, industry galas. Each time, the same subtle electricity hummed between them. The look that lasts a fraction too long. The laugh that breaks tension in a crowded room. Still, both remain careful. Fame demands distance, privacy is a fragile luxury. They understood the cost of being seen, says a stylist who worked with them separately. They protected what mattered by keeping it invisible. That invisibility only deepened the fascination. When fans noticed they wore similar watches in different interviews, speculation lit up message boards. And a photo surfaced of two silhouettes walking along the Han River. The internet briefly convinced itself it had found proof. The agencies denied it. Life moved on. But to those who believed, the idea of Kang and Kim Yoo-jung together became a kind of shared daydream, a hope tucked between reality and fiction. No one knows exactly when the friendship turned into something more permanent. Some say it happened quietly during the filming of a commercial in early 2023. Others insist it began far earlier, hidden behind late-night script rehearsals and the comfort of someone who understood the chaos of celebrity. Whatever the timeline, by the end of that year their bond was unbreakable. They grew in parallel, says an assistant director. Success didn't make them selfish, it made them careful. When the official announcement finally arrived, it felt less like surprise and more like destiny catching up. Friends close to the couple describe a proposal that was intimate, sincere, and free from spectacle. It took place, they say, on the rooftop of a small cafe overlooking the river where they once walked as co-stars. No photographers, no lavish gestures, just a quiet question, a quiet answer. And two people who already knew. The engagement ring, designed by a Seoul artisan, features twin lines of silver that meet in a single curve, a symbol of stories that began apart but finish intertwined. The public learned none of these details until weeks later, when a leaked wedding planning document confirmed October as the chosen month. By then, both families had met in a private dinner described by insiders as simple, genuine, full of laughter, There were no bodyguards or reporters. Only parents toasting to the future with homemade wine. One relative reportedly said, "They remind us of how love used to be, slow, deliberate, respectful." Across Korea, the announcement reignited nostalgia for an older kind of celebrity romance, one untainted by scandal or spectacle. Newspapers called it a return of sincerity. Editorials praised the couple's maturity in handling their relationship away from the cameras. A columnist wrote, "In an era of oversharing, silence was the purest declaration." Yet behind the grace was a private struggle. Maintaining secrecy in a world that documents every glance required discipline bordering on art. They coordinated schedules to avoid overlapping public appearances, used group dinners as cover for short meetings, confided only in a handful of friends. Even then, they lived with the constant fear that affection might be mistaken for impropriety. They wanted their story to belong to them first, says a mutual acquaintance. When they were sure of forever did they choose to share it. Kang, the choice marked a turning point. Known for portraying emotional vulnerability on screen, he had always guarded his personal life. His friends describe him as introspective, the type who writes more than he speaks. In one interview last year, when asked about love, paused and said, "It's not about being perfect together. It's about peace." Fans now revisit that clip, hearing in it a confession hidden in plain sight. Kim Yoo-jung, meanwhile, has long been celebrated as Korea's eternal muse, a child star who grew into elegance without losing authenticity. Her diary-like posts about gratitude and self-care have earned her a reputation for sincerity. When news of the wedding broke, the message to fans was brief but luminous: "Thank you for letting me grow with your love. Now I begin another chapter." Within minutes, it was reposted hundreds of thousands of times, accompanied by hearts, tears, emojis that translated emotion better than language could. As the first week of headlines subsided, attention shifted from shock to celebration. Brands issued congratulatory statements. Streaming platforms launched Best of Song Kang and Kim Yoo-jung playlists. The Ministry of Culture even hinted at including their union in a campaign promoting Korean soft power, proof that romance itself had become part of the national export. But amid the marketing frenzy, the couple withdrew from view, retreating to a quiet coastal town to plan their ceremony away from noise. Those close to them described the days that followed as serene. Mornings spent reading scripts in silence, afternoons walking by the sea, evenings planning guest lists over homemade meals. They kept the wedding small, around 100 guests, mostly family and lifelong friends. They didn't want it to feel like an event, a planner explained. They wanted it to feel like home. Every decision reflected that philosophy: local flowers instead of imported ones, handwritten invitations, live acoustic music instead of pre-recorded tracks. Even the venue, a restored hanok nestled in the hills of northern Seoul, was chosen for its quiet dignity. The announcement of the location remained secret. It surfaced online, a venue known for its autumn maple trees, a place where history meets intimacy. Speculated endlessly, dissecting photos of possible sites, comparing angles and colors of wood beams. Each rumor fueled excitement, but none detracted from the respect most felt. For once, celebrity culture seemed aligned with the grace rather than intrusion. As October approached, Seoul itself seemed to prepare. Fashion houses readied bespoke ensembles. Florists pre-booked seasonal arrangements. Hotels along the Han River reported unprecedented reservations. It feels like the city is dressing up for them. One columnist joked. Yet beneath the spectacle was a deeper emotion, the collective wish that these two, who had given so much beauty to others, would finally find peace for themselves. And so, as autumn's first chill touched the city, the countdown began. The story that had started years ago in scripts and camera lights was moving toward its most human scene, a wedding not of characters, souls. The fans waited. The industry watched. And in a quiet corner of Seoul, away from the flash and noise, Song Kang and Kim Yoo-jung rehearsed their vows, not lines written by someone else, but words born entirely from their own hearts. The quiet weeks that followed, Seoul's skyline began to shimmer with the soft promise of autumn. Billboards still showed their faces, but the frenzy had calmed into affection. The city had learned to wait. Journalists, once relentless, turned reflective, publishing think pieces on how celebrity love could still feel pure. Perhaps, one editorial mused, We needed this reminder that fame and sincerity can coexist. Behind closed doors, the couple continued to plan, often late into the night. We visited described evenings filled with music and laughter. Sketches of flower arrangements scattered across the table. Kang favored gardenias for their quiet scent. Song preferred maple leaves for their symbolism, constancy through change. Together they found compromise in a palette of ivory and deep crimson. A balance of serenity and fire. The guest list was finalized in handwritten ink. Invitations carried a wax seal in the shape of two intertwined initials, S and Y, accompanied by a single line, where the story began. Our forever continues. There were no sponsors. No brand collaborations, no PR cameras. This was not a performance, it was a beginning. While interviews with their peers added texture to the narrative the public imagined. A fellow actor, close to Song Kang since their debut days, spoke of how love had softened him. He used to talk about exhaustion, the friend said. Now he talks about peace. It's like someone opened a window in his life. Another insider described Yoo-jung's transformation. She's always been disciplined. But lately there's this lightness in her, like she finally allows herself to breathe. Even their work seemed to mirror their journey. Projects. Both had gravitated toward characters that valued authenticity over perfection. Critics noted that their performances carried an intimacy that could only come from living truthfully. What audiences didn't know was that, between takes, were already living their own version of those scripts. Public fascination grew gentler. Fan communities launched charity drives in the couple's honor, funding scholarships for aspiring actors and supporting children's art programs. They inspired us to build something real. One organizer wrote. People quietly matched donations, requesting anonymity. Acts of kindness replaced gossip, admiration replaced intrusion. When the engagement photos finally surfaced, the glossy studio portraits everyone expected. Instead, they were candid frames taken by a friend on film, Song in a simple linen shirt, Yoo-jung in a soft ivory dress, both barefoot on a wooden terrace overlooking the mountains. In one image, he's laughing mid-sentence while she reaches to brush hair from his eyes. In another, they're standing apart, by sunlight, looking toward the same horizon. The photos felt less like publicity and more like memory. The internet called them proof that love still has texture. Within hours, the images had been translated into murals, phone wallpapers, even short poems written by fans who found themselves unexpectedly emotional. One viral comment captured the sentiment, in their calm, the love we hope to deserve. As October neared, both stars wrapped their remaining projects early. Production companies postponed schedules out of respect, releasing statements that read like blessings. Photographers began scouting outside wedding venues, hoping to guess the location. But Seoul's geography is full of secrets. Rumors pointed to Hanok Estate hidden in Bukchon, others to Riverside Chapel in Yongsan. Each clue felt like part of a national treasure hunt, but the couple's silence remained intact. Then, 2 weeks before the ceremony, the agencies released a joint message. We thank everyone for your warm congratulations. Please understand that the ceremony will be private, attended only by family and close friends. Your support means the world. The announcement was met not with frustration but respect. Flooded the comments with heart emojis and messages promising not to disturb their day. In a culture often driven by spectacle, restraint became the new romance. Seoul entered wedding season draped in red leaves and anticipation. The air smelled of roasted chestnuts and early rain. And journalists debated what designers they might wear. Social media buzzed with lists of dream guests: Park Seo-joon, Han So-hee, IU, while stylists whispered of fittings and secret deliveries from Paris ateliers. Yet those closest to the couple insisted that luxury was never the point. They wanted elegance that feels human. The planner. Nothing too loud. Nothing that hides who they are. Privately, both families met once more for dinner in a modest restaurant overlooking the Han River. Witnesses described the scene as warm. Laughter punctuating conversations. Yoo-jung's mother passing plates down the table. Song's father raising a toast that began awkwardly and ended in tears. No photographers. Just two families becoming one. Days that followed, Song was spotted at a flower market with a cap pulled low, carefully selecting blooms himself. Visited a small chapel where she had filmed early in her career, leaving a folded note in the guest book. Locals said she bowed quietly before leaving, smiling through tears. The details spread through word of mouth, soft and reverent, like folklore in real time. By the eve of the wedding, his rhythm had changed. Even those indifferent to celebrity gossip felt the pull of the story. Perhaps it was nostalgia, perhaps it was the rare chance to witness grace in an age of noise. Street vendors sold miniature bouquets labeled for Kang and Yoo-jung. Cafes played their old drama soundtracks. Han River bridges shimmered under golden light, as if Seoul itself were blessing them. That night, reporters camped at possible venues, hoping for confirmation. But no one leaked an address, no photo emerged. As though an unspoken agreement bound the city, let them have their moment. Midnight arrived quietly. Somewhere behind high garden walls, candles were being arranged. Music rehearsed, hearts steadied. Tomorrow would belong to them. Inside their temporary home on the outskirts of the city, the couple spent the final evening apart. During a traditional custom, Yoo-jung stayed with her family, surrounded by sisters and friends who helped prepare gifts for guests. She laughed often, nervous but radiant. "It feels like a scene I've played 100 times, she joked. "This time it's mine." Song stayed nearby with his parents and a few close friends, writing what one of them described as a letter too personal to share, too beautiful to forget. When dawn came, the light over Seoul was tender, gold-threaded with mist. The world outside still slept. That moment between silence and celebration, everything felt suspended: time, fame, expectation. Two people who had spent years pretending that love was fiction were about to prove that it never was. And as the first bells of the morning echoed across the river, Seoul exhaled, softly, like a prayer for a happiness it could already feel. To everyone who believed in love long before it was announced, thank you. To the fans whose patience became the quiet bridge between two hearts, your kindness turned curiosity into celebration. Journalists, editors, and storytellers who chose respect over intrusion, you proved that truth can be told gently. Families and friends who stood behind the light, but unwavering, your faith made this story possible. And most of all, to Song Kang and Kim Yoo-jung, for reminding the world that love, when kept genuine, needs no performance. May their story continue to remind us all that the most beautiful things in life aren't scripted, they're lived. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. Grace, with sincerity, and with love, always.